Where is Nurjan? I don't see Nurjan on the those who came in.
Inshallah, he will join. He will join, inshallah.
Okay.
He just before a few minutes send me the link. He will join, inshallah. How is things with you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
You have reached back to home, to Turkey from Tashkent?
Yes, I am home. I am in Turkey now, and we started our university teaching class.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Classes already.
See. What subjects now you are teaching, Sheikh?
I'm teaching advanced Islamic economics and advanced risk management for Islamic financial institutions.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
جاء أحمد بيان جاء
أخي جو الشام تمام.
Nurjan is join now.
Well, okay. أهلا وسهلا.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Alaikum assalam. Yes, I hear you. Alhamdulillah, mashallah.
Good to see you, dear Professor.
Ya ahlan wa sahlan, barakallah feek.
So, shall we start then our
Yeah,
meeting?
already now 5 minutes late. Okay. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to this session of our online lecture series with scholars of Islamic economics and finance, hosted by Association of Islamic Finance Professionals in Kazakhstan. We are honored to have you with us today and ask Allah to bless this gathering with beneficial knowledge and lasting impact, inshallah. And we are pleased to welcome participants joining us from Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Russia, and Uzbekistan, with a strong representation from each country. Today's lecture is planned to last for a total of 1.5 hours. At the end of the lecture, we will reserve special time for questions and open discussions, inshallah. So please feel free to note down your questions and comments. It's truly my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for today, Professor Monzer Kahf, one of the leading scholars in the field of Islamic economics and finance. Professor Monzer Kahf has dedicated his life to development, teaching, and global promotion of Islamic economics and finance. He previously worked as a financial and investment consultant in New York in the early 1980s, and later as a senior research economist at the Islamic Development Bank's Islamic Research and Training Institute in Jeddah, where he served for over 10 years. He has dedicated much of his careers to teaching and supervising masters and PhD research and economics, holding academic position at Yarmouk University in Jordan, in Saif in Malaysia, and Hamad bin Khalifa University in Qatar, and currently at Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University in Turkey. In addition to his academic work, Professor Monzer has provided expert consultation services to Islamic financial institutions and legal bodies across the globe, including the USA, Canada, Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, Trinidad, Nigeria, and others. He's also a collaborating expert at the Islamic Fiqh Academy of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, where he contributes to research and policy in Sharia, finance, and economics. Professor Monzer Kahf has authored 37 books and booklets and written over 120 scholarly articles in both English and Arabic, some of which have become standard reference in the field, some of which has been translated into Turkish, Indonesian, and Korean. So with that, it's our great pleasure to welcome Professor Monzer Kahf to deliver his lecture on the topic Development of Sharia-Compliant Banking Products, Key Principles, Criteria, and Practical Challenges. So we thank the Professor. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to learning from your experience and deep knowledge. So the time is yours. Please, Professor.
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Of course, when we talk about the prerequisites of developing or generating Islamic finance product, we would have to say immediately that the knowledge of Sharia, of course, knowledge of Sharia, but also knowledge of economics and finance. Because if we do not understand the way structures of contracts are implemented, are working in the market, we will not really be hitting the right thing. We could be doing the wrong thing instead of getting what is what is intended to be as a finance relationship. We've worked very hard with several institutions, really, and with several banks, Islamic banks and conventional banks that wanted to give Islamic finance contract. And the basic points, in my opinion, after really long experience, is to know what is the essence of Islamic finance? What is Islamic finance? And if you allow me, I like to put some, I don't know how to put it, however, to share with you some video, but I really don't know how to share it. Let's see, the video is open here, but it says select a tab to share. I don't see any tab here. That is when I
at the bottom,
It-
Professor, there's screen
at the
sharing.
bottom it says share, but share is not is blocked, and next to it is cancel, is the one that is available. So I push this button at the
Third bottom. Third
the
bottom. Like laptop. It's
I
a share.
push the yes, I
Third
pushed
bottom is a
that
microphone.
the arrow
Second
button.
is
Yeah,
camera.
arrow button.
But I mean, I push the arrow that usually I do, and then it gave me another window, small window, saying choose what to share with Google.com. The site will be able to see the content of your screen. Then it says Chrome tab. I don't know whether I should push this, then window, then entire screen. It doesn't really give me what I want. And here it says WhatsApp. I don't want WhatsApp. Let's try Chrome tab, and when I push it, it gives nothing. Window, and here it gives something, but I don't know what's this. This is on limit. Okay, I got share here. Let's see if that is shared. This is not. So that's not what I wanted to share. I wanted to share anyway.
Now, Professor,
I tell
your screen showed up now.
They can see your desktop, Professor.
you can see what?
Desktop, your desktop.
Well,
Yes. When I'm sorry. Can you close this? Yes. Try again.
you see, there
Third
is
button.
an arrow here. When
Then
I
you
the arrow,
then choose all window.
well, the arrow in the bottom
You
says
go to the arrow
share
at the bottom.
screen. And I push the arrow, then I push window. Let's see if that helps. It didn't give me a choice other than this screen that we have now, which has the pictures of some of us on the screen, and I don't. It doesn't give me anything beyond that.
Maybe you just click on the screen, full screen, then you play.
Anyway, no, well, it didn't work. And I don't know on this system. This must be a Russian system of Google, not a system I am used to use. I don't know. Okay, I'm canceling, and let's anyway start with the ideas. Now we all know, with no dispute between anyone, any Muslim scholar or anyone, we all know that Islamic finance goes through sale or leasing or sharing. Any one of you does not agree with this? Islamic finance, that groups of contract that we can perform Islamic finance through them are only a group of sale and group of lease and group of sharing. There's nothing beyond that. What we exclude is the group of lending. So lending under any title, under any name, is not acceptable. So Islamic finance is done through sale or lease or sharing. Of course, there are different kinds of sale, different kinds of lease, and we are talking about sale contract, lease contract, and different kind of sharing contract. The AIFP mentions that, and everybody mentions that, and we all know that this is the way Islamic finance is done. So practically, most of what is given in what is used in providing finance or in practicing finance, in fact, on the liability side of the balance sheet. We have sharing, and we have different kind of sharing. I mean, musharaka and mudaraba. Musharaka for shareholders, for owners of the financial institution, and mudaraba for those depositors who expect to earn a return on their deposit. We do have also creditors, and the OIC Fiqh Academy and the AWOFI and everybody also considers the current account are creditors, are lenders to the Islamic Bank. So we use these three kinds of contract on the liability side of the balance sheet. That is musharaka for shareholders, mudaraba for depositors who wish to earn, and loan for depositors who do not earn any return. Now, on the asset side, we have financing on different kinds of sale with deferred payment under the name of murabaha or any similar, and salam sale where payment is done upfront, and then we have also istisna sale. As a WOFI count all these contracts. Lease, we use basically lease that ends with ownership, and of course sometimes we may use also on the asset side, rarely, but it is used. We may use either mudaraba contract or musharaka contract. Both are sharing contract. Now, before I go to the next slide, does anybody disagree with this? Do you have any comment on this? That Islamic finance, when we provide Islamic finance, we provide it only by kinds of sale, kinds of lease, and kinds of sharing, and nothing beyond that. And that what gives us the potentiality of earning. Any disagreement on this? I know that this is unanimous among all persons who deal one way or the other with Islamic finance and Islamic Islamic banking, etc. So the only way to provide financing is through sale and lease and sharing. My question now to everybody, and I need an answer from you guys. Then after I say the questions, please open your microphone, and I request the management of this session to allow that opening, and I need answers from you, please. What is the thing that is common in sale, lease, and sharing? There is some important thing that is common in all these Islamic finance contracts. So what is it? Is it signature? That's trivia. Definitely, it's not signature. What is the common thing that exists in sale, exists in leasing, and exists also in sharing?
Mirwert raising her hand, I see.
Yes, I suppose it is risk sharing and profit sharing.
Well, as a matter of fact, in sale there is no sharing at all, so it is not then risk. It is not sharing profit, and it is not sharing risk. I am sorry to say that you may find on the internet this word repeated in regard to Islamic finance many times, but when the reality is that Islamic banks on in most of the times, you find the sale occupying the highest percentage of finance that they give. It goes up to 90% in many Islamic banks. And sale does not have any idea of sharing neither risk nor profit. So it is not risk sharing that is common between these three. Risk sharing exists only in one transactions. It is the sharing transactions. And the Islamic banks, on the asset side of their balance sheet, make very rare, extremely rare sharing contract. On the liability side, yes, sharing contract under the form of musharaka for shareholders and of mudaraba for depositors who don't interfere in the management is common, is what is being practiced. And that would be a subject of my second question. But my first question is very important, and I repeated, I need you to please answer it. What is common in sale, lease, and sharing? In murabaha, for instance, or in istisna, or in sale, all kinds, and in lease and in sharing. There is one thing that is common in all these together. Please, anyone?
All of them based on the transfer of asset, isn't it so, Professor?
Okay, sometimes, yes, we find on the internet some talk that, oh, Islamic finance is asset-based or asset-backed or whatever. I don't like really the definition of the ranking companies that rank, you know, the credibility of different institutions and the distinction between asset-backed and asset-based is irrelevant really to Islamic finance, this distinction. But asset, yes, asset in a sense is not really kind of common, but it is an element. But can we find a better word than asset?
Or probably it is asset-based.
Well,
so we have this
how about
based asset.
how about saying, well, how about saying that what is common is ownership? You have to own a thing. You own and sell. You own and lease. You own and produce goods and services. You own a company. You own part of the company through sharing, through whatever that is sharing. You own a productive facility, and that productive facility would produce goods or services, and you may earn from them. So what is common is owning a property. That's a better expression than saying asset or asset-based. Owning a property is common between these. But now I have a question. The second question about risk and so on, I will delay it for later. I have another question. Yes, if we say that owning a property is what is common between all these modes of financing that are required and that are only required, I mean themselves only and nothing else in Islamic finance, the owning a property. Now, is it any property, or we need to give some kind of characteristics of the property that is suitable to be owned in Islamic finance? To make the question a bit easier and clearer, if I own a debt on someone, can I sell it? If I own a car, I sell it. But if I own a debt, can I sell it? Can I lease it? Can I take it as in sharing? It does not. So it is not any property that should be owned. Can we discuss probably then, or think, and I like to throw it as a challenge to you all, what should be the characteristics of the object of sale or lease, of this ownership that is in sale, in lease, and in sharing. In sharing, for instance, you own machine. Now, if this machine can only produce liquor, wine, would it be a good machine to use, to own and use it for Islamic finance? It does not work, because all it can produce is, say, liquor. How about owning something that is really not acceptable, again, in Sharia, like owning, take the example of liquor also, or of pig. You own a pig, a farm that is specialized only in raising pigs. Can I sell it to another in finance?
Oh,
Or
you cannot. Yeah.
I cannot really.
Yes, and Sheikh, let me return back. Sorry for to your first question. As for selling things, that it's common things, you have to be owner. But in case of salam, you are not owner. You know, you are paying 100% before to be owner of these goods that you are going to be owner. In case of salam and travel salam, in this case, I think your first question a little bit.
My dear,
Yeah.
the payment is something different. We are not talking about a payment yet. We are talking about owning a
Yes.
property. How is salam done? I own a property as an Islamic bank, say, for instance, I own the property and I sell it. And when I make on salam, I also own a property. Notice, when
That
I
is not exist, yeah?
I own a property, and that property that I own is a debt on the seller. In farming, for instance, when I buy from a farmer 1,000 kilo delivered of wheat, for instance, delivered after 6 months at the season, when I make
Okay,
this
okay,
contract of salam, I own that. I own that amount, and that amount is my property. And notice, when I make salam, I did not make any profit yet. I do not earn. Only after I receive the object, the wheat, and sell it for a higher price, that I earn. Now I only finance. I finance the producer, but when I finance the producer through salam, don't
parallel
I
salam.
own? Well, please listen.
Okay.
Don't I own 1,000 kilo of salam in the form of debt on the seller? Yes, of course. And when I give him the price now in salam, I am required to pay the price now. I pay the price against what? Against ownership of 1,000 kilo, as in this example, of wheat that is delivered after 3 months. And as a debt, and Awofi agrees with me clearly, and everybody agrees with me, as a debt, I cannot sell this debt. I have to wait until it becomes not, because the debt is a thing that is abstract, until I take delivery of it. So is in Murabaha, I cannot sell anything before I take full delivery of it also. And in Istisna and in any sale, I can only يعني be able to sell it, to sell the property I own after I take delivery of it and I sell it, and only through this sale that I can realize profit. I do not realize profit by paying money to the farmer as a price of 1,000 kilo that is going to be delivered to me later. So the payment is a different issue. What matters here is I own a thing. Can I make profit from that thing? If the thing is the object of what I own is something not acceptable in Sharia, like liquor. Can I suppose I own it by some reason? Can I sell it? I cannot sell it. I have to destroy it. Let's take another example. So in other words, I mean to say that there are descriptive conditions. It is not only that we require ownership, but there are descriptive conditions of the thing that you own must also be fulfilled. One of these descriptive conditions is that what I own must be permissible in Sharia. So I own something that is permissible, like computer, like 1,000 kilo of wheat, etc., etc. But there is another condition which is very important. And here, why we cannot start from debt. Why lending is not acceptable in Sharia? What is the reason that lending is not acceptable in Sharia? I own money and lend it, I become owner of a debt. Why I cannot earn from that debt? Can anyone help me in answering this question, please?
Because the debt is not considered as an asset in Islamic law.
Who said if the debt is not an asset, then my dear friend, what's your name? One who answered?
It's me, Ozat.
Okay, yeah, Ozat. Then give me please a loan of $1,000, and I will not pay it back to you because it's not an asset. You said it's not an asset.
Yeah.
But it is really an asset. When you look at the balance sheet of any company and any bank, Islamic bank, don't we find in their balance sheet debts on others? Are these not assets? That makes about 80% of the assets of any Islamic bank. These are definitely assets, and these are definitely things that are owned. But why a debt is not suitable? I cannot earn from it. Can anybody then answer me? Answer this question, please. Why the debt is not the kind of asset that allows you in Sharia to earn? As if we are saying why riba really is prohibited. When you own a debt, please, can the debt generate additional value? If I own a car, you go to Islamic bank, you want to buy a car. Okay, you selected the car, you ask the Islamic bank, please buy this car and I'll buy it from you on profit. After the bank buys it, and it must take delivery of it also, after it becomes in the possession of the Islamic bank with full ownership. Notice the principle of owning a property, full ownership of a property. It can sell it to me and make profit at a higher price. There may be circumstances where it may not be able to sell it to me. I did not fulfill my promise, and it has to go and sell it in the market. They fail to take from me adequate support of my promise, so they may make loss in that. But the question is, does any property become suitable for being the property that I own and make profit through selling it in Islamic finance? Not any property. So why, what are the characteristics of properties that may become suitable to be owned? One of them, definitely, if they don't pass the moral criteria. If you own liquor, you cannot sell it, and you cannot make profit of it. In fact, if you happen to own a liquor, definitely you are a loser. You have to throw it away in the drainage. You cannot do anything with it other than throwing in the drainage. Even you cannot make it into what is the word for khal? The khal in English, please, like in pickle and similar. Vinegar. Okay, you cannot transform it into vinegar because it is liquor. And liquor is not a property that is suitable for being a property for a Muslim. So definitely, it must then, what we call the necessary condition for the property that is suitable is to be owned. That's a necessary condition. You must own a property. Now let's describe this property. Condition number one, it must be morally permissible, morally acceptable. That's one.
Yes, Sheikh, if you Sheikh, it's like Sharia compliance. They should consider this before transaction, and they should understand Islamic banks for what reason you are going to use this property. Even the car or even the truck, if you see there is no non-Sharia compliance reason, but if we understand, I mean, the bank understand that using for transfer liquors, so this is not available. This is correct?
Well, please listen. If the car can only be used, is designed in such a way that it cannot be used for anything other than transporting or carrying liquor, then it cannot be owned. It's like liquor. But the issue of Sharia compliance, this is what we are discussing. This is a general word. So if you own a debt on others, like the salam debt, I own a debt in kind that is 1,000 kilo of wheat to be delivered to me 3 months from now. I own them, but this what I own is a debt on the farmer. Can I sell this debt? No, I cannot. You cannot sell.
Yes.
I cannot. Why? Because it's a debt. Because the debt does not generate any added value. This is the meaning of Sharia compliance. Sharia compliant is a general word, includes many things.
Yes,
But what does it mean?
let me give you one example. It's not related with the products or salam or murabaha and other. In case of SWIFT transactions, you know,
In case of
Islamic
what?
banks, SWIFT transactions, you have to. We are all full-fledged Islamic bank, for example. We are going to provide services to our clients, and they are requesting to provide some money through SWIFT. We see
Through
the
what?
case.
I did not understand the word you mentioned. What is the mention that you said through what? So
through
please.
SWIFT, you know, SWIFT transactions.
What is SWIFT?
SWIFT transfer money from
The
one.
remittance.
But that's another
Remittance.
issue. It's, I mean,
Okay.
SWIFT is not an asset. Okay. So when you finance, okay, can you finance? And you mean you finance through SWIFT? How do you finance through SWIFT? You don't finance through SWIFT.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you don't own SWIFT. You own money. You own dollars. Okay. And you want to transfer these dollars to, say, another currency, to Saudi Riyal. That's a different issue. You want to transfer money from one country to another through SWIFT. This is not financing. So why are you bringing SWIFT into the issue? This is a transaction, but it's not a financing transaction. It is a transfer, and transfer, yani, even if you earn in it, you earn only a commission for the action you did. You don't earn as financing. Financing mean you give some asset and you take the price later. You create some form of credit. So what is it then? What does it SWIFT has to do with this? I don't see it. It relates to what we are discussing. If I own a debt in kind, I cannot sell it and make profit out of it. I can only sell it after I take possession of it. And this is what Awofi also says. And this is what is known in Islamic jurisprudence all through. I buy a commodity and lease it. A car or a computer or anything can be leased. So, and this commodity doesn't have to be really material. It may be not material, like a computer program. So I can earn from selling a computer program that is allowing you to use that computer program, and I earn from that. In other words, what is the descriptive condition? Why do we exclude debt from being the property that I own and give on financing? Why do we exclude debt, whether the debt is in kind or in terms of money?
Based on your explanation, the debt doesn't generate any profit. It
That's
doesn't
right.
have any
And
intrinsic value in it.
it has intrinsic value, but it does not generate added value. Because this is why it is said in Sharia, you can transfer debt from one person to another, but at the same face value of the debt. So the debt does not generate additional value. Can I transfer the ownership of a debt in kind? I bought, say, on Salam, and I paid the price. Because Salam has to, the price of Salam has to be paid at the time of contract. I own a debt of 1,000 kilo on a farmer. Can I transfer this debt? I cannot sell it for profit. I can transfer it for the face value, not for anything else other than its face value. So transfer of debt at face value is permissible, but sale of debt for profit does not work in Sharia. Why? In my opinion, and this is what I want you to please argue, and if you have any objection to that, please tell me what is it, or any other opinion. It is because the debt does not generate additional value. And why the debt in our fiqh books cannot be taken as a principle in creating sharing, partnership, or mudaraba? Because the debt, again, does not generate added value. What do you do with the debt? You collect it. One may say, okay, we collect the debt and then consider it as principle in creating partnership. Well, once you collect it, it is no more debt. We are talking about it as debt. But if you collect it, then it becomes cash in your hand or wheat in your hand if it is in kind. So the idea here, exclusion of debt from being an asset that you can use for profit in Islamic finance, is because the debt does not generate, not able by its own nature to generate added value. No added value can be created by it, and therefore you cannot use it as the property that you own. Of course, the moral criteria is another condition. In other words, property, ownership of a property is a common condition in all Islamic finance products, and this ownership is the necessary condition, whereas this ownership has to be also described, or this property that I own, it must have two characteristics here. One, must be morally acceptable, and two, must be of the kind that generate added value, additional value. And we will look at what are the implications of this whole thing. Then, ownership is the basis of finance, the basis of Islamic finance. There can't be profit-making finance without ownership of a real property, and real property could be abstract, like a computer program, or could be physical, like owning a computer or a car. So the Islamic bank can finance either of them. How about financing services, airline ticket, for instance, or the service of going for Hajj and Umrah, that includes a whole bunch of different kind of services, including hotel, transportation, air transportation, land transportation, and it includes also provision of food and etc., many other services. Guiding in the performance of Hajj, you hire a guide also included into that service. This package of service, can it be financed in Islamic finance? Yes, but again, through the concept of ownership. It is not an issue that you can lease, because lease require the property to have additional descriptive aspect, which is to be long-lasting property. But here a service can be financed in a similar way of financing murabaha. The Islamic institution buys this service and sells it to the customer. Similarly, education services, medical operations, etc., medical services can be purchased and financed and sold to the customer. Now, there cannot be profit-making finance without ownership of a real property. And we agree that debt is also a real property, but yet it is excluded. How do we exclude it? By looking at the descriptive conditions. In economics, we have something that we call it in economics necessary condition, that is the essential idea. And then the descriptive conditions, we call them sufficient conditions. These are the conditions that describe the property to be acceptable. These are two conditions, and please remember these two conditions. They are extremely important, extremely part of the fundamental discussion. That is, it should be one, morally acceptable, and two, it should be able to generate added value. Added value could be in the form of preference of the consuming an apple, for instance, today over tomorrow. That is definitely added value. I am willing to pay higher price if I get it today than tomorrow. Tomorrow I don't need the apple. I don't like the apple maybe tomorrow, but I like it today, and that is an added value. This is why we always say, all economists say, sale creates added value. Whereas if you notice, loan does not create added value. Loan transfers the wealth from one person to another without creating added value. Now, it also implies that lender does not deserve an addition over its property. What does the lender own? The lender owns a debt on the debtor. The borrower or becomes under debt of the lender for the amount of debt, lender or creditor. Why we do not give him addition? Why this addition is denied in Sharia and is considered prohibited? وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. Because this addition in fact does not exist, cannot be existing, because the debt does not generate any additional value. Your property, which is a debt, is unable to generate any additional value. This is why, for instance, in Islamic banks, we may create a debt through murabaha, but then once we create this debt, can we use this debt as a base to sell it for another person and make profit on it? No. So once you create a debt, the debt can only be collected, and you have to wait until it is collected. It does not make a base of the of financing. So Islamic finance is debt creating, or maybe debt creating, but it is definitely not debt based. Why it is not debt based? Because debt does not generate additional value. Please look at this verse in Quran. That is the verse number 30 in Surah number 39, Surah Ar-Rum. Okay? The verse, and I will read it slowly for those of you who understand Arabic, and then translate it. وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن رِبَا لِيَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ فَلَا يَرْبُو عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Whatever you give on the basis of riba, you intend it, that is li yarbua, li, the objective of it, you intend from it that it will increase in the properties of people, other people. Of course, not in your property. فَلَا يَرْبُو عِنْدَ اللَّهِ means that for God, it does not increase. Why it does not increase for God? Because in reality, it does not increase. So you become an owner of a debt, and the debt does not increase. the debt does not generate a baby debt. Whether the debt is in kind or the debt is in money, in currency, any currency. So therefore, the debt is not suitable to be a basis of profitability or of profiteering. It can be a result of sale or a result of lease, but not really the basis of lease or sale. Of course, you cannot lease a debt, and you cannot even consider a debt, make a debt as a principle for sharing contract. And this is clearly in the fiqh books. Why it is so? Because the debt does not generate added value. Okay.
Professor, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go
What
ahead.
what is your view if a company buys a portfolio of debt, where there is a mixture of debt, like the assets also as a debt, the money as a debt, like a portfolio of debts from the bank, for example? What is your view on the permissibility of buying that kind of debt?
It's not permissible for an Islamic bank, because you cannot make profit from a portfolio of debts. Now, it's a different question, and I think these marginal points should not confuse us about the principle. Okay, if there is a mixture of assets, whether abstract assets, but real assets that generate additional value, and physical assets that also generate additional value, and with them there is some debt or some cash also. Can we look at this whole portfolio together? Can it be traded, sold, or owned? That's a marginal issue. Yes, it depends on the majority and depends on the other factor, which is known in fiqh as determined by the OIC Fiqh Academy, the principle of being submitted to another thing, or related to another thing, and it is part of it. So when it is part of another thing, yes, I can sell a whole business, for instance, a business of sale of computer. I have inventory, I have many other equipment in it, and also there are debts and there may be some cash. The whole business together, that the principle of tabaiyya, or what is not supplementarity, kind of supplementarity. It's being part of it on the basis of the principle that is known in fiqh at-tabi'u tabi'. So we apply on the subordinate the same rule that applies to the original. But again, the other rule of majority. Well, these are marginal issues, but definitely if the portfolio is of debts, only debts, different kinds of debts and different maturities, definitely it cannot be traded. It cannot be according to our religion, no trading and no other thing. But of course, it only can be collected and nothing else. Cannot be sold at other than it can be transferred at the face value, only face value. Okay, now when we establish that a property that has certain description is the basis of profit, of making profit in Islamic finance, then we exclude it is not price risk, and it is not liquidity risk, and it is not credit risk. All these kind of risk do not matter for the justification of earning. It's only the risk of ownership, which is known in Sharia as having two kinds. The risk of ownership with its two kinds, that are Risk of destruction, if what you own a thing, and before you sell it and make profit, it was destroyed. Say it is breakable glass and it broke. Then, of course, you cannot make profit. You bear this kind of risk, the risk of, they call it using the Arabic word of talaf, which means destruction, or the risk of being entitled to somebody else. And the example of risk of entitlement is an example that happened at one time in the Islamic Bank of Abu Dhabi, when they bought a used car and sold it to a customer. Of course, the customer made the choice of that used car. On his request, they bought it and sold it to him. But the used car turned out to have been stolen by the seller. The seller stole a car, forfeited its document, sold it to the bank, and the bank was innocent in that. And the bank sold it to its customer. And definitely the customer was the one who guided them to that car to be purchased because he liked it. So the result was that the customer goes back to the bank. Mr. Islamic Bank, you sold me a used car, a car that turned out to be entitled to somebody else who is the true owner. So here is the car, take it back, and you can follow on the person from whom you bought it. And they tried to follow on the person from whom the bank bought it. The issue is that between the bank and the customer, here is a risk of entitlement that the Islamic Bank had to bear part of what is called ownership risk. So it is not price risk, nor liquidity risk, nor sharing risk, because there is no sharing here. And it is only the ownership risk that an Islamic bank has to bear. And we need to look at, again, what is the implication of this? If you own an asset that does not generate any added value, and here we can talk about probably two examples. The second example is a little bit difficult, but I want you to bear with me in trying to understand it. If we assume that here we want to establish, say, a partnership between you and me, and one of the conditions in this partnership that I pay, say, $1,000, you pay $1,000, we work on it, mudaraba or musharaka, whatever it is, but there is a condition that my $1,000 remains in the vault and don't touch it. It must remain in the vault. Can this company work out? Can I profiteer from my share that is kept in the vault and never used at all, cannot be used? I cannot earn from it. If there is a condition that this money has to be remaining in the vault, it means we do not use it in generating, because money itself does not also generate any added profit. And in books of fiqh, they tell us always that money itself that cannot generate any added value except through a process of taqlib. Taqlib means transformation. You transform the money into other goods, say cell phones or computers, and then you transform these other goods into money again, and you may end up with $1,200 instead of the original $1,000, or you may end up with $800 instead of the original $1,000. You bear the risk of it, of course. But if you notice in this process of taqlib that is mentioned in all fiqh books about the way of earning through money, what is this process in reality? In reality, the profitability happens only in the period of owning assets, because you start with 1,000, buy computers, sell them for more. When did the increase in value happen? During the ownership of computers, not during the ownership of cash. So cash, with the condition of not being used in trade, again, does not give any return. And this is why, again, in fiqh, notice the consistency in our fiqh. This is why it is said that currency can only be traded for its face value. When it is the same currency, of course, it's only face value. When it is a different currency, what the market determines as the exchange rate between these two currencies. So the money and debt, their the usability for transformation, either for transformation or for only transfer contract, the contract of hawala, which is the face value. Now, what are the implications of all these issues? They imply very important things, and I intended to have it less than 1 hour. But please notice that one of these important things is what is said by the Fiqh Academy of the Muslim World League, and what is said also by the Fiqh Academy of the OIC, that you need a real sale. A fake sale in which the goods are not intended for their own selves is not considered a true sale. And when it is not a true sale, then it does not generate additional value. And this applies, of course, to bay' al-'ina, and also it applies to tawarruq, because both bay' al-'ina and tawarruq, the commodity is not intended for its own self. You don't need that commodity, but you buy it only on credit and sell it for cash to get only the cash. So I sorry that I will conclude with this and leave the time for questions. Okay, thank you. Where is Nurjan?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, dear Professor, for enlightening us with your deep knowledge and the essence of Islamic finance and contracts, and the criteria for contracts and financial contracts to be Sharia compliant, and the concept of ownership being the basis of Islamic finance. So we are now in the second session of our meeting, which is questions and discussions. So please, I'm asking from my colleague, if you have any additions or comments or questions, please feel free to ask. Here's Ozat, our colleague. He's raising his hands. Please, Ozat, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Nurjan. Professor, thank you for your insightful and very blessed lesson and lecture. So in your lecture, you've highlighted the ownership, and said that the entitlement to the profit is based or is contingent with the ownership. Actually, I've read the last publication which we have published in Journal of Islamic Economics, which was in Arabic actually. استحقاق الربح بالملك في المضاربة وغيرها نظرة جديدة في التمويل والاقتصاد الإسلامي. So this theory of yours, even if it might be looking like contradicting with the mainstream fiqh thought, but I think I must confess that it gives flexibility, because when you say that when you can generate profit based only on asset, you are restricting the scope of the profit maximization or profit generating. But when you broadening the scope of profit generating and linking it with ownership, it might give us flexibility. Do I get you properly, or correct me if I'm mistaken, please?
Well, no, yes, you are correct, because when you look at property, one of the things, I mean, if I have more time, I would say that the implication of ownership that generate added value means that you should be real in the real market. You cannot be separated from the real market of goods and production and real transactions in the market. Because what is the meaning of sale, lease, and sharing other than being part of the market? Now notice, in interest-based financing, you make the contract and then you go to the market to buy or to whatever transactions you are equipped with the money now, or with the credit. Whereas in Islamic finance, the finance producer has to be part of the real market. That realism implies that any non-real transactions is out of the Islamic finance. So a transaction that is only that we use sale, or it's not the idea of sale, it's the idea of reality. This reality, if sale is not real, then it doesn't it does not create its effects. So when the sale is not true, as in Ina and as in Murab, in Tawarruq, definitely it does not generate its effect in the real market. It does not create added value in the market. A condition of Islamic finance becomes, for earning, you have to create added value in the real market, and then you deserve part or all this added value as a finance producer. If you don't create added value, if you do not increase the GDP of the country, then you don't deserve to have an increment. This is the idea of Islamic finance. And when we make it fake without increasing, notice any loan contract does not increase the GDP, only transfers wealth from one person to another. Then whatever the other person, this borrower, whatever he or she does with that credit, that may or may not generate added value. He may do it for a negative value rather, by say using it for opium or any other drug. So using it for drug that create negative added value, not really positive added value, because it creates more hurt in the economy. Islamic finance has that concept of reality. Be part of the real market that generates added value. And if you don't generate added value, you don't deserve a profit. This, when you look at Tawarruq, for instance, or Ina, or any transaction that is made fake, in the future, I'm sure there may be people who will invent several other transactions, not only Tawarruq and Ina. But you look at the criteria. Do I generate added value? If I don't generate added value, then there must be no profitability. And this is, in fact, what is implied in the verse of Surah Ar-Rum, Surah number 30 in the Quran, and verse 39, or maybe vice versa, Surah 39 and verse 30. So your idea, yes, my dear Uzzat, is correct, that the mudarib in mudaraba earns by the asset that he owns, which are an intellectual property that he provides in the business. And that is in comparison with the laborer, because all fuqaha do not disagree at all that a mudarib can hire laborer. So what is the difference between the mudarib and the laborer? And why we say mudarib may earn profit, not wage? Because the mudarib has intellectual abilities, intellectual property that he puts in that business. So it goes back to be property based. Profitability is only property based, and you have to own a property that has specific descriptions. One of them that it is a property that generates added value.
Thank you, Professor, for your clarification. Jazakallahu anna khair al-jaza.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Brother Ozat for your question. So, dear colleagues, does anybody has any question like related to products or any Islamic financial contracts? So everyone is free to ask. Please, Brother Muhammad Razi.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor. Thank you very much for good information, all this information.
You are welcome.
Professor, I wanted to know from you your experience in Turkey, because the Turkey legislation to some extent near to our legislation. How they handle the concept of the ownership in developing products in ijara, in murabaha, in different, in moving non-movable asset. How they banks there in Turkey handle this matter there? Thank you very much.
Leasing and musharaka, they rarely finance on musharaka basis. They call them Katilim Bank. Katilim banks, all of them own and definitely own the property, but you don't have to own it for, you don't need to own it for 1,001 years. You can own it for 5 minutes, for 3 minutes. And what is wrong with that? As long as you bear the ownership risk. You own it and you assign it to your customer. You may also, and in Turkey also, Islamic banks, in most of the times, give wakala to the customer himself or herself to take delivery on behalf of the bank before performing the second contract. And when we say before performing the second contract, which is the sale from the bank to the customer at a profit, before that, yes, there is possession by the bank through its customer. So why there's no reason for making life difficult? It is not necessary that, and the bank itself, of course, cannot walk and take delivery from the seller. So what is wrong in assigning the customer to be our agent? But definitely, we may even sign the contract in advance, but the contract will only be made effective after attaching the taking delivery on behalf of the bank of this asset, and then the bank bears the ownership risk. The idea of the extent of bearing ownership risk is necessary for making the profit, and it is practiced also in the Islamic banks in Turkey here.
Thank you.
Shaykhna, what about the registration? Do they pass, for example, if it is a non-movable asset like home, like big movable asset, do they register it in the name of the bank first, or they don't register
No,
it?
they don't. Why do they need to do that? Is that required in a sale? Who said it is required to register it with the government? in a sale. So the sale contract, because we want immediately to transfer it to the customer anyway. So why making two registration? What is the
Because
objective of it?
some country they don't consider the sale to be recognized.
No,
sale,
you are
but
wrong, my dear brother. You are wrong. There is no law in the world at all, including your own country, that you think otherwise. It is your understanding of the law, not the law. The law says we do not recognize the sale unless registered of real estate. But there is no law that says it is not a sale. It is a sale between themselves, and they can go and register it if they want. And if they don't want, many people buy in all countries, from Russia to America and everyone who is in between. You can make a sale and don't register it of real estate. You don't, to preserve your rights, you need that registration. But if I am transfer it within 3 seconds to the new owner, why should I register it for 3 seconds and then transfer it again to the new owner? It's only 3 seconds. We sit together, the seller, the bank, and the customer. So we transfer it immediately to the seller without registration, and we put it in the name of the customer directly. There's no law that says this is illegal. This is legal under the law that you are under, and every law in the world. Literally, I say it clearly, every law in the world, and I have observed it and practiced it in several countries also. Several countries, yani, of different directions. Okay.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Thank you. Jazakumullah khairan.
Okay.
Allah barik feek.
Thank you for your question. We have Brother Murat raising hands. Please, Brother Murat, go ahead.
Professor, thank you very much again for your very useful.
What happened? I don't hear you.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, Murat. Murat, we can't hear your voice. Murat,
Take another question until he repairs his microphone.
yeah, I think so.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yep. Now the question is, Professor, when a Muslim needs some pocket money, let's say $2,000, $1,000, $500, to solve some small issues, he's not solving something. So can we say that there is no Islamic contract which can solve this issue in a halal way? Can we say so?
Yes, most of these needs, I should say probably all of them, can be solved through the concept of Islamic credit cards. You really don't need, because Islamic credit card works on the basis of wakala and murabaha. So you go, I give you authority to buy any small things, including services, and use them for that. It's only except, the only thing that will be conditioned in it, that you don't use it for anything that is not permissible in Sharia. You cannot use it for buying liquor, for instance. So you can use it for anything. So it is a combination of wakala with credit card, wakala with murabaha. You pay it later. And this is one. What is beyond that, there is a hadith that says the sin, that means the sin is what is inside you and you don't want other people to know about it. So here, in application of this hadith, only you need cash, only when you don't want the finance provider to know about it. And that means when you are doing something wrong. If you want to take cash to pay it as a bribe, for instance, yes, the Islamic bank must not finance for that. So this pocket money, when it is halal and within the arena of permissibility, can be financed. But when it goes beyond that, to pay, like paying a bribe or buying liquor or doing something wrong otherwise, that shouldn't be, it would be abuse of Islamic finance, and really Islamic finance does not provide that. Yes, and should not provide it. But the concept of Islamic credit card with wakala can solve most of these true needs.
Okay, thank you very much, dear Professor. Fatima, please. The next person, Fatima, asking question.
Thank you very much, Prof. Monzer. And thank you for that wonderful session. My question is regarding the sukuk structure. That is Ijara sukuk that have the sale and lease buyback component, and also the determination of the face value prior to maturity. I don't know what is Prof's take in that. Thank you.
Okay, the Ijara sukuk that are based on sale to the sukuk holder and buyback within 3 months or 6 months or a year are wrong, are in Sharia, in fact, invalid. I don't accept to buy them. I give plain fatwa that they are invalid, although there are some people who kind of approved it, although there is a mistake which I showed to the former Secretary General of the AWOFI. I showed him that mistake where it says that, oh, there ought to be at least a year between the first sale and second sale. Well, there is that period because it is ijara in between. But the condition should be there ought to be a year between the promise to buy back and the original sale. If there is between the promise to buy back can only be done at the time of the first sale to the sukuk holders. So these sukuk holders with the condition of buyback are based on Ina, and the Prophet ﷺ prohibited the Ina. And why? Because it does not generate added value. Really, this kind of transaction gives money only to them and does not generate additional value. By the way, the use of tawarruq for liquidity management is another false proposition, which is incorrect, and definitely an Islamic bank does not need to resort to tawarruq or commodity murabaha for risk management. They should make other arrangements, and any Islamic bank and any person who want to discuss with me other arrangement for liquidity management in Islamic bank for 12 years and until today also, because I left the bank after 12 years, the Jaiz Bank in Nigeria. I left it after 12 years, for 12 years, and it is still continuing until now. We never made any tawarruq transactions, and we were managing. I was the chairman of the Sharia board, and we were managing liquidity risk throughout. The management was doing it with our consultation, and we've done it beautifully right, without any tawarruq and without any ina at all, even through the COVID problem where customers had difficulties to make payment. We still managed it without tawarruq and without ina. So anyone who wants to discuss that, I should have write a book on this liquidity management really in Islamic banks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mirwet, the next person.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Dear Professor, thank you for your lecture. I have a question regarding principle of time value of money, which is considered to be a principle of conventional finance. So on the one hand, there is an opinion of some ulama that oppose even such instruments as murabaha with the markup, if the markup is defined according to the market interest rate. But on the other hand, we have to abide the current regulations and the local and international rules. So taking this into consideration, is there any justification that might be used for permissibility of such benchmarking? Thank you.
Okay. Well, these are really two questions, and they are not related one to the other, although you mix them together. The first question is about the time value of money. In fact, time value of money is a myth, and that myth came from, say, money is like commodity, but money is not like commodity. Commodity generate added value by themselves. Money does not. So, and our ulama 1,000 years ago said that inna lizamani nasiban min al-thaman, that for price of commodities, price of goods, yes, time effect. There is a time effect, a time value of goods, not time value of money. And when I think it was Fisher who invented this statement in the early 1930s, American economist, but he was false in that by claiming that, oh, with money you buy commodities. Well, it is true you buy commodities, but they are not the same. Commodities generate added values through time, whereas money does not generate added value through time, does not increase through time. And this is clear. So for this question, there is time value of goods and no time value of money. And the analogy is incorrect and incomplete. You cannot claim time value of money. The actual experience I had, I lost $200,000. I didn't know that I lost them, as a matter of fact. I put $2,000 in one of my books in my library, and I had a big library, and forget about it. 7 years later, I found the $2,000. Where is the time value of money? There is nothing. They remain $2,000. So this is the real time value of money. It's simply nothing. Time value of goods, yes, is permissible and recognized in Sharia more than 1,000 years ago in the writings of our ulama. This is one. Two, is it permissible for Islamic banks to take interest rate as a benchmark? Unfortunately, Islamic banks today are minority in their markets wherever they are. And being minority in their market, they are part of the finance market in their countries, and they are small. And the only way to survive and to live within that environment is to charge equal profit rate equal to the interest rate. So if I were an Islamic bank and you come to me to take finance on murabaha, and ask me what is the rate of profit that you are going to ask me to pay, I'll tell you, please go outside and ask the next door bank, which is a conventional bank, an interest-based bank, a riba bank, a haram bank. Ask them what is the interest rate, and I'll charge you the same rate. But it is halal in murabaha because it is sale. It is not halal in loan because it's not sale and there is no time value of money. So because we are minority in the market, that's the only way to do it. When we become the other way, it will be different. When we become majority, then the banks that work on interest will take what is the profit rate of murabaha in the Islamic bank, and they imitate us. Now we imitate them, yes, because we are in the same market, and that is permissible.
Okay, thank you very much. We all hope that day to come, inshallah. And we had a question with Baghdad. He's raising his hand. If you're okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Please.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for your time and for the lecture provided, Professor. I want to ask a question about the transactions conducted in Islamic banks. My question is relates to shall the Sharia control department or Islamic bank in general control and monitor each and every transaction of the clients which is conducted through the Islamic bank, through the debit cards or through the wire transfers? What is the general practice in the world? Could you please shed some light on this matter? Thank you very much.
Many Islamic banks make credit cards and require their customers to pay in full within the grace period. And that is permissible. There is no problem with it. It's a grace from the bank that they give this grace period. Some Islamic banks give the grace period as 25 days. And most Islamic banks in Turkey here, they give the grace period only 10 days. 10 days from the day they send you the bill, you have to pay it. Otherwise, they will close your credit card and they don't accept to give it to you again. So most Islamic banks do that. Unfortunately, some Islamic banks follow a wrong fatwa. They make settlement of the credit card balance through tawarruq, by buying goods from London Metal Exchange, buying some metal from there and selling it to you on credit and selling it back for cash, which is tawarruq, commodity murabaha, and settle that one. So they create a new debt on you for a larger amount. That's pure riba. That's nothing other than riba. Unfortunately, some Sharia board of some Islamic banks allowed that. And those who are, I am sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will count it for them. So inshallah, yani, they will repent from that before they go to hell. Otherwise, sorry to say it, yani, this is the reality. Ashafatu, I'm glad to see you. You are in Singapore now? Glad to see you with us.
Good afternoon. No, I am in Gambia.
Oh, in Gambia. Okay. Well, how come it is Singapore here? Oh,
Thank you.
Sing? Yeah, I don't know. Looks like Senghor.
Senghor, yes, from HBKU.
Oh, Senghor. Okay. Yeah. And Fatima Baji also, I think. Were you with me in Qatar, Fatima?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, you are the Fatima who was in Qatar. Then it's glad to see you again.
Thank you, Prof. We are more delighted to have you back.
Barakallah fikum. Okay, Khalas, any other question?
I think Aja, she had a question. Maybe we make this the final question.
Go ahead, please.
You have a question or just?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it's a question that I have. Prof earlier mentioned that these Islamic financial institutions, in most cases, they form the minority in the countries in which they operate, and sometimes they might have to deal with their conventional counterparts. Let's say the interbank lending that they do, or the overnight lendings that they do as part of their liquidity management instruments. So when these Islamic banks borrow from their conventional counterparts, they have to pay the principal plus the interest. The same thing applies when the conventional banks borrow from their Islamic counterparts. They might also have to charge them on something on top of the principal that they are paying. This might be the admin fee or whatsoever they will call it. So I wanted to know what is Dr. Monzer's opinion on this act, whether it's in line with the Sharia or not, because some of the conventional banks will tell you that they have an interest pool account, where they put these extra funds that are paid. Because, yeah, I guess it's a constraint that they are facing because they cannot deal directly with other Islamic banks. Let's say in the Gambia, we have only one Islamic bank. So if they have to do these interbank transactions, they might have to do it with their conventional counterparts because that is the only option that they have. So I wanted to know what is doctor's opinion on these type of transactions and their Sharia, whether they are Sharia compliant or not. Thank you.
I don't agree with you that this is the only option that you have. You have another option, is to start before the need for some cash or having some excess cash, before the idea of borrowing from the other bank or lending to the other bank. You need to start before that by preparing a master agreement with the other bank, with a conventional bank, yes. And with a conventional bank, make a master agreement that we may need sometimes money from you. We give you some attractive rate. We finance murabaha, some of our murabaha through you. We finance some of our ijara through you with your money. So you give us money when we need for this and other needs also. Even when we need that you make a deposit with us, we give you a higher rate of profit, not interest. And also when we have some excess fund, we give you this we give you money provided you use it on murabaha basis with your customers. And many of their customers really are real people who or real businesses who buy things in reality. So they need the finance for buying, not really. And we give them a format, a template of the murabaha agreement. It's so simple to apply. And when we establish such master agreement between us and the other bank, then we do this all in compliance with Sharia. We don't need to borrow from the other bank and lend to the other bank. We do it both ways in Sharia compliant way, but we need to negotiate with them a priori before we fall into the need or we have the excess funds. We need to prepare a kind of master agreement with them, with another bank. And I think every Islamic bank should do such master agreement with other banks around in the same community, in the same constituency, whether Islamic or not Islamic. Of course, there are differences. And also with the central bank. Jaiz Bank, for instance, negotiated with the Central Bank of Nigeria, and they were able to make transactions with them only in accordance with Sharia, and also negotiated with other banks in Nigeria and prepared these kind of master agreements. Okay.
Thank you very much. So with this, I think we close our lecture. Jazakumullahu khairan, dear Professor Monzer Kahf, for this enlightening and thought-provoking lecture. We're deeply grateful for your time and the value insights you've shared with us today. And thank you for all participants and attendees for joining us in this important session from different countries. This session, which was hosted by the Association of Islamic Finance Professionals in Kazakhstan. May Allah accept this effort, increase us all in beneficial knowledge, and enable us to apply what we have learned in our personal and professional lives. So thank you very much, dear Professor, for giving us your time. And we hope that this is not the last lecture, so we hope maybe in the future we can manage to have a chance and get benefit from your knowledge in such format. So thank you for all.
I think probably it is over now. The time is over.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. See you next time, inshallah.
Thank you. طيب بارك الله فيكم. Thank you all.
وفيكم بركة.
السلام
Thank you.
عليكم.
Salam.
Aman.